It's that time. Time to leave and say goodbye to Florida. Yeah.
Huh. People are leaving Florida. Gee, I wonder why. Imagine that.
Wow, what an absolute disaster. Look at this. South Florida business bankruptcies spiked nearly 50% in the first half of 2025. Nearly 50%. So you can't sell your home in South Florida. You can't sell your condo. And now you can't run a business. Isn't South Florida fun? Ay, ay, ay. Who told you to get out of there? I told you. I warned you. It's not too late. Get out of Florida. Get out, get out, get out.
Wow. This is huge, guys. Huge breaking news. Now, my people in Florida are telling me that Disney is about to announce that they're going to be moving Disney World from its current location. Now, there's been a lot of controversy going on, but Disney has secretly been planning this because of all of the problems that they're having. They're going to rebuild Disney World in international waters off the coast of Florida near Fort Lauderdale on a man-made island that they've been building out there in the ocean. And the reason that a spokesperson said they're doing this is that they are tired of the treatment that they're getting from the state of Florida and Ron DeSantis after all they've done for the state. And they don't need it. And they certainly don't, guys. This is crazy. Now, it's brand new. When I get more information, I'll give it to you right away. Come on back for more. Wow.
I'm a born and raised Floridian and I want to move out of Florida. And when people ask me why, here's a simple reason. There is way too much overdevelopment. Not every single piece of land needs to be built on or sold. Some land should just exist and just be.
Florida is so broke right now, people are literally financing their groceries like a car note. Florida has officially turned into the second most financially distressed state in America. Of course, only Texas beat them out. When I saw it, I thought, dang, Florida and Texas are in competition with each other to see who can treat their people the worst. See, here's the wild part. A new study found that 25% of Floridians are financing their groceries using buy now, pay later. You heard that right. Loans. We finance cars, homes. Some people even do it to furniture. Now it's chicken wings, bread, and milk. Honestly, it doesn't surprise me because when you look at Florida, a huge part of the problem is the elderly. And it's not like grandma can go get a side hustle at Amazon or the grocery store to make up for the money that she misses every month. The elderly don't have that option. It means that they're feeling the squeeze tighter than anybody else. And the squeeze is brutal. People are delaying payment, racking up late fees, filing bankruptcy, or just straight up not paying bills no more. That's not living paycheck to paycheck. That's survival on credit. And just note, it's not just a Florida story or a Texas story. When two of the largest states in the country are collapsing under the weight of necessities, that means it's a sign that it's happening everywhere. So if Florida is drowning while selling sunshine and palm trees, imagine what it looks like in states that don't have the tourism economy to fall back on. And quiet as kept, Florida ain't got it to fall back on no more either. So remember, America will sell you a dream, but it will make you finance the groceries just to stay alive. And if you think it's normal, then you've already accepted living in a nightmare.
Week 1 of leaving Florida for a better life. I know, why would you leave Florida for a better life? There's sunshine there, but we just couldn't do it anymore. The cost of living is absolutely insane. And now that LGBTQ issues are coming up in Florida, we figured we needed something safer. So here we are seeing our last Florida sunset and having game night with our family and friends for the last time before we pulled out the next day.
So I'm back at it again, and today we're going to be talking about how many people have left the state of Florida, but also how many people have moved over here as well, because it's important to know both sides of the coin. Now, this information I'm pulling up is from the 2022 census, so this is accurate, up to date, and they just released this roughly a week and a half ago. Now, we had 490,000 Floridians leave our beautiful state, and these are the top 5 places they went to. Georgia was number 1, 51,000. Number 2, Texas, 41,747. North Carolina, 34,920. California, which I was surprised, 28,557. And then Tennessee, 25,318. Now, you may be surprised, hey, we just lost 409,000 people, but we had 100,000 people moved to the state of Florida. And from that, 91,000 of those individuals came from New York. Now, from this information, were you surprised? Let me know down in the comments below. And what are you waiting for? Like and follow. Have a good one.
People are leaving Florida in droves. At least that's the comments that I've got over the last couple years on a lot of my videos. But the funny thing is, U-Haul didn't get the memo. Because U-Haul's 2025 mid-year migration report has Florida ranked number 4 in the entire country for one-way U-Hauls into Florida, not out, in. And top states that are moving into Florida, we got Georgia, Texas, North Carolina, Tennessee, New York, South Carolina, Virginia, New Jersey, Ohio, which I'm working with a lot of people from Ohio. Oh, and I'm also working with some people from Pennsylvania. People from Georgia are definitely flocking to Florida. In the metro cities that are moving here, Atlanta, Houston, New York, Charlotte, and Dallas. And while moving to Florida, where are they going? Well, Orlando, Tampa, Port St. Lucie, Jacksonville, and of course, Fort Myers. So if Florida's so awful, why are people driving across country in a rented box truck to get here? Of course, people talk about how the population of Florida is decreasing. Well, it's still increasing, but just at a slower rate. But there are some people moving out of Florida, so let's see where they're going. It's quite similar. So you got Atlanta, Columbus, Nashville, San Antonio, Cincinnati, Texas. So a lot of the similar places, people are moving down and then people are moving away. So yeah, there are people leaving Florida, but there's way more that are moving here with a box truck filled with hope and a GPS set for the Sunshine State.
Florida, the Sunshine State. We all know it as the Sunshine State, known for its warm climate, beaches, thriving tourism, and vibrant environment. Its economy thrives on tourism, agriculture, and real estate. But currently, the living costs in Florida are rising. And this is all because Trump policies are really hitting Florida so hard, to an extent that Trump policies are making it expensive to live in Florida. And this is pushing some residents towards bankruptcy and forcing them to consider moving to other cities and states. And despite these challenges, Florida remains a popular spot for tourism and those that retire. People like, let's say people in their retirements, people have made their money and they're looking towards retirement. They consider Florida for its vibrant environment and beaches and leisure. But well, tell me what you think down in the comments. Do you think it will attract as many people as it used to, considering the fact that its tourism is plummeting and Trump policies are making costs of living so expensive? In one of my videos, I made a video about Florida homes losing value. People aren't buying homes in Florida anymore.
Listen, I know this isn't going to sit well with everyone, but if you don't need to, please do not travel to Florida. Not for a quick getaway, not for a girls trip, not for the Disney vibes, nothing. The state of Florida just built that alligator concentration camp, and the city of Miami illegally canceled their November election, giving their mayor and their city commissioners an additional term in office without the voters. Let that sink in. Elections canceled. Detention centers funded. This is authoritarianism in action. And the worst part is happening in broad daylight to one of the most visited states in the country. Florida brings in over $131 billion a year, and probably even more, because that was the numbers for 2023. And the majority of that money comes from domestic travelers. Yes, some of the most deeply marginalized groups live in Florida: immigrants, Black folks, queer folks. And here's what else is true. If people don't take drastic, intentional actions, this becomes our new normal. I worked in the travel industry for a long time, and tourism is big business. But consider every dollar spent is a vote. And right now, the state of Florida is counting on us to continuously show up, even as they strip away rights. If you are a Floridian small business, an NGO, a mom and pop shop, put the name in my comment so that folks can individually, monetarily support what it is that you have going on in Florida. Because if folks unnecessarily continue to travel to Florida, you're not just taking a trip, you are casting a vote. So make it count.
Breaking news: states that are most financially distressed in the United States and the least distressed. You'll never guess who they are. Number 2, Florida is the number 2 most financially distressed state in the United States. Led by, guess what state? Guess what state? The Lone Star State, Texas, is number 1. Followed by Mike Johnson's Louisiana is number 3. Nevada at number 4. And Lindsey Graham at number 5, South Carolina. So let's go over the metrics. And this is done by Wallet Hub, their MoneyWise unit. And they do this all the time. So here's how they made this determination. Looked at several factors. The first, and obviously a very important, all of these, is credit scores. Higher credit scores better, lower credit scores worse. Payments and deferrals. Okay, if you're deferring your payments, that's not a good sign. They're looking at this financial distress of not being able to make your payments or deferring the payments. Average number of payments that are in deferral or are in distress. The number of bankruptcies and the change, is it going up or is it going down? Number of times people actually searched on Google from these states for debt, looking at debt and debt solutions, and also looking at loans and loan solutions. And when people are having to basically stop their payments or trying to defer their payments, that is not a good sign. And clearly, increasing signs of bankruptcy, another very bad sign. And Texas and Florida are at the top, followed by, again, Louisiana, Nevada, and South Carolina. The best states in the country, best to worst, Hawaii, Vermont, Alaska, Oregon, and New Mexico. So there you have it. Imagine, look at all those red states. Ooh, Texas, Florida, Louisiana. At the top, Governor DeSantis, Governor Abbott, Mike Johnson, what are y'all doing? How are your states the worst of all? This is before all the federal cuts that are coming through, that they're going to be felt. Health cuts, SNAP cuts, other benefit cuts. Love to hear from my Democrats, my MAGAs, my crazies, my cuckoos, my burned out light bulbs. And Donald Trump's tariffs. They didn't learn before from the Holly Smoot tariff that helped put the United States into the worst depression that we've ever had. And they do the same thing again. They do not learn from history, do they? Let me know what you think.
I get a lot of calls from people that live in South Florida and they want to know what it's like to live in Southwest Florida, especially like the Cape Coral, Fort Myers, Lehigh Acres area. And I'll tell you a little bit like what it's like. So I grew up in Miami, and honestly, when I was growing up in Miami, I was like a kid. I lived there pretty much almost my whole life. It wasn't as expensive as it is now. Like ever since COVID, I feel like Miami really turned into New York 2.0. And the truth is that the majority of people that live in Miami can't afford Miami. And that's just true. Like you literally get a condo for almost $3,000. It's just insane. And if you actually want to become a homeowner, you're not going to be buying like a $1 million home to like repair that. It's just insane. So if you want to become a homeowner, you actually need to probably leave South Florida unless you have like multiple people that you can get on a loan with and then buy a house for like $1 million. So I'd say that's probably my biggest reason why I left South Florida, because I eventually wanted to become a homeowner, which I did. And I don't think I would have been able to do that in Miami. Now, what I can tell you about this whole area is that it's still growing. Like, it's not as fully developed as like Miami per se, but it is growing every single day. We're getting more and more people moving into this area, especially coming from Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and Broward. All those areas, people are coming from there over here. So I do think eventually this whole area will grow just as much. So even buying right now, you're still buying early. Obviously, in this area, the pace of living is a lot slower. It's not like Miami. It's not full on city vibes, but you still can do things here. Like there's bars, there's restaurants. Naples is also growing a lot, so they're putting in a lot of clubs there and bars and cool things to do. So like I said, this whole area is still growing, but I think honestly, like if you've been thinking about leaving South Florida because you want more space, you want somewhere for your family to grow up in, an actual yard, and you don't want to be in an apartment for the rest of your life, then I really recommend looking into these areas, because I think they're honestly a solid investment, because in 5, 10, 15 years, this whole area is going to be unrecognizable because of the amount of people that are going to be coming from South Florida.
One of the big questions we've been asked is, how did you get out of Florida? We've had a lot of people say, like, we want to do the same thing, but it's so hard financially. So I'm going to tell you exactly how we moved out of Florida. Number one, I was in a 9-to-5 that was super stressful and just mentally draining. So first thing for me was I quit my 9-to-5. Fiance works remote, so no matter where we go, her job is secure. I now also work remotely doing life coaching, and then I also do interior design projects and any extra things that I can pick up that I have fun doing, like social media, websites, etc. Once I quit my job, a whole weight was lifted and I was ready to go. So I went to our apartment and I said, hey, what would it look like if we broke our lease so that we could get out quicker? We had two options in our lease. The one that we picked was that we would pay a certain amount and have to give a 60-day notice. So that day, that's what we did. We said, hey, I don't know where we're going after this. I don't know what we're doing, but here's our 60-day notice. We have to go. Everybody at this apartment complex was so great. We loved working with them. And so we went ahead and broke that lease for that certain amount of money that we are now making payments on. I didn't know if we were going to be able to get out because of the chunk of money that we had to pay to break our lease, but thankfully they set up a payment plan for us, and that is how we were able to affordably get out of Florida. Then we started looking for our next place, and we actually came down to a couple of different options, a couple of different apartment complexes in different cities that we were looking at, and then we got a phone call from our friends. These angels said, hey, while you're trying to figure out your next steps, while you're trying to figure out where you want to live, why don't you just come stay with us? I will tell you, my mental health has just skyrocketed ever since leaving that apartment, leaving Florida, and moving in with our friends, and we feel so at peace right now. So if you are looking to make the decision to leave Florida, I hope I can empower you to do that. And if you love Florida and that's your place, more power to you. I am not saying that you can't love Florida. This is just what we did, and I'm just sharing my experience.
I've got less than 3 months here in Florida. I'm going to keep my word. I am going to leave Florida. I don't want to live here anymore. I don't want to be here in July when it's hotter than heck. Okay, you guys all told me on one video of all the different places that, the states that you lived in, and gave me the good qualities and everything. But one thing I forgot to tell you, I need to work wherever I go. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my ride sharing, that I'm doing like I'm doing now. I need the extra income. So I need to be going to a state that has to a city in any state that has a metropolitan feel. There's got to be a lot of people taking these ride shares. I need that. I can't go to a little teeny town and make any money. So it's got to be like a Chicago, or it could be a suburb close enough to Chicago for me to get there, like within an hour's drive. I just need to be near a lot of people. Okay, one of my concerns is I know up in New York and Chicago and all up those places that it snows. Do people drive in the snow? I know that I've never done this before, but do people actually drive in the snow? What do people do in the wintertime? I'm thinking maybe in the Midwest, I don't know. I'm not saying no to snow. I'm just saying no to heat, and I want to get out. And I don't want to be in California either. I'm done with California, did too many chapters of my life there, and I've done a whole decade almost here in Florida. I'm done. I need somewhere else to go. Somewhere not so hot, somewhere not too expensive, somewhere where I can meet people. What do you guys think?
Everyone wants to move to Florida until they find out what nobody tells them, and I'm about to fix that. And if you don't know, my name's Brad. I help people relocate here to Northeast Florida the right way. My wife and I moved from out of state, so I'm not guessing. I've lived it. And here's what nobody tells you and what's not on the brochure. Property taxes. So yeah, DeSantis is trying to get rid of them, but they definitely vary county to county, and they can smack you right in the face if you don't know how they work. And home insurance in Northeast Florida, it's not as bad as what the media sells it. And hurricanes, yeah, they happen, but they're not that chaotic. In fact, we don't even get worried until the Waffle House closes. And we have several weeks to prepare. And bugs and gators, look, you're not wrestling bugs in your driveway. And how much does it cost to run a pool every month? And what about HOAs and CDDs? I don't live in an HOA, but I definitely would if it was the right situation. So I'm going to show you my car insurance, my homeowner's insurance, my electric bills, all those hidden costs I'm going to share with you. Groceries. Publix is expensive, but I'll show you where to save some money. Although those pub subs are pretty groovy. But I want to tell you, outdoor living on the Lanai is my favorite. Also, I can garden all year long. We just love being outside. And I'm hosting a free live webinar for anyone thinking about moving to Northeast Florida. And I'm going to break down everything. Real strategies, real numbers, no bullshit. If you want info without making expensive mistakes, well, just comment info and I'll send you the link.
So I just saw a video of a farmer in Florida who states that Donald Trump is the best president in his lifetime and that he supports Ron DeSantis 100%, but he's begging these migrant workers, these undocumented workers, to not leave because he's going bankrupt. All these farmers are going bankrupt. All these contractors are going bankrupt because everybody's left. Because this law that they just passed makes it illegal. Like if I'm working with someone who's undocumented and I'm giving them a ride home, we get pulled over, I can get arrested. Not just can they get sent back, they can arrest me. And then the farmers are trying to say, oh, it's been misread and it's been lied to in the press and don't believe it. They're panicking big time. They have fucked around and they are in the find out stage. And I just think it is it's beautiful. It's delicious. It's just chef's kiss. Just seeing how this farmer panic and seeing him trying to talk to, he'd say something and then the interpreter would repeat it. And the things this guy was saying are not the kind of things that are going to keep undocumented workers here. There's plenty of work for them wherever they want to go. There are a lot of jobs that Americans don't want to do that undocumented workers can get. And there are a lot of places where they're appreciated instead of persecuted. So I just think it's hilarious that they're finding out now that there's going to be some serious consequences to this. And wait till you find out what tomatoes are going to cost in 6 months. RT Gargiulo has a huge tomato. Most of the tomatoes in the United States are grown in Southwest Florida. And they have a huge tomato operation there. And they don't have any workers. And it's going to be bad. There's literally strawberries and things like that rotting on the vine or on the plant. They can't get anyone to come and work. They got what's coming to them. And I just think it's beautiful. I hope it bankrupts them. I hope it bankrupts every goddamn one of them. Every single right-wing rich guy that supported all this hateful stuff, supported all this anti-trans stuff in this fight with Disney. I'm just loving this. And I'm loving, it's going to be great because in about 6 months, this is really going to hit. And that's just when Ron DeSantis is going to be really trying to hit the campaign trail. Enjoy your finding out, Ron. You're going to find out a lot.
So as a queer person living in Florida who is planning to leave the state due to the current political climate here, I hear all the time from others that, you're being too dramatic about this. It's going to blow over soon. You have nothing to worry about. And I want to share with you why my girlfriend Kelly and I are being as cautious as we are. I hope you're right. I hope this does blow over. But there's something to be said about why we need to be cautious right now because history does repeat itself. So Kelly's family is Hungarian and Jewish, and Kelly's grandfather literally left Hungary to escape the concentration camps. Kelly's great-grandfather worked for the Hungarian government and the railroad system, and in the time leading up to the Jewish populations actually being sent to concentration camps, the family shares that Kelly's grandfather would say to his parents, we got to get out of here. The time is now. And his dad, Kelly's great-grandfather, would continuously say, no, I work for the government. There is no way that the Hungarian government will ever do anything to me. We're fine. This is going to blow over, right? Until it didn't. Kelly's grandfather and aunts were lucky enough to flee Hungary before things were too late. But her great-grandparents were not that lucky. And her great-grandfather, again, someone who worked for the Hungarian government, he and Kelly's great-grandmother were killed in Auschwitz. In fact, we have records indicating that Kelly's great-grandmother, Pauline, was killed in Auschwitz on January 1st of 1944, a year before the concentration camp was liberated. Guys, this was only 79 years ago. It was the ignorance and the disassociation from the truth and reality and the it's not my problem, it's their problem mentality that led to the Holocaust in the first place. Now is the time to speak, to act, to plan, because thank God for Kelly's grandfather, James, who fled Hungary, because had he not done that, he would have died in that concentration camp with his parents, and Kelly would not be here today. So I take this very seriously, and I hope that you do too. Before I end, I just would like to thank Kelly and her family for giving me the permission to share this in hopes that it helps others in some way. And I really would like to thank Kelly's grandfather, although he is no longer with us, for making that courageous choice to leave Hungary when he did, and for giving me Kelly. It's an honor to be part of your family now.
Palm Bay, Florida. Palm Bay, Florida is in the news because there are unfinished townhomes. People want their money back. They were promised their dream homes. They were promised they were going to have gorgeous, beautiful properties. What did they get? Nothing. They got a bunch of delays, a bunch of promises from builders that ran out of money. They just couldn't finish the projects. And now the city is going to have to knock them all down. And as far as people getting their money back, yeah, good luck. Because these builders throughout Florida have a huge problem. And that problem is they're running out of money. They're not selling anything, and they're not finishing their projects. Yes, Palm Bay is just one of many areas throughout Florida that are going to be suffering this exact same problem. Like and follow for more. We're going to be talking a lot more about this because there's a lot of projects in Florida right now that simply aren't going to be finished. And builders have run out of money, and builders in Florida are going bankrupt. Like and follow for more.
Imagine being a nurse in Florida and having to ask for permission to quit. That's where we are now. See, Florida's Choice Act just didn't sneak in. It slid through without DeSantis even signing it. It's one of the most extreme non-compete laws in the country. We're talking 4 years where certain workers, especially high earners, can't leave to work for a competitor. That includes a whole bunch of healthcare workers, tech folk, finance, and even executive level folks at nonprofits. And if your job decides to sue you, you can't even work somewhere else while the case is in court. So you're stuck with no income, just waiting. So y'all, we gotta call it what it is. It's a trap. This ain't about protecting opportunity. This is about rich donors like Ken Griffin helping to write laws to keep you stuck in a place while they continue to make money. See, Florida keeps selling out working people to corporations. First it was housing, then it was education. Now it's your freedom to leave a job. And folks wonder why healthcare workers and teachers are leaving red states. So if you ever wanted to know what economic control looks like, it looks just like this.
People are fucking leaving. Like, we're all leaving. Rachel and I are leaving. Like, we can't fucking...
Please watch his entire video. It shows you just the frustration of so many people in Florida and how so many people in Florida, it's not reported in the news. It's not really talked about, but there are thousands and thousands of people preparing and getting ready to leave because Florida has just gotten ridiculously expensive and it's number one. Yeah, Florida's number one in inflation in the country. That's right. Florida is number one in inflation. So here's a guy explaining how much it used to just cost to rent a small place, and it's more than doubled. And going to the grocery store is ridiculous. But just living all around Florida when you're number one in inflation, it's just one thing after another, after another, after another. And I have so...
Hey, so foreclosure activity is starting to reach levels that we haven't seen since before the last crisis. The numbers are simply off the charts for pre-default activity. And what makes this so much worse this time around is consumer debt is already at an all-time high. Credit cards, lines of credit, and all that sort of thing. There's no question but that we're heading into a very, very troubling financial period. If you're starting to experience that personally, it's time to start taking action right now. You need to confront this before the foreclosure notices are at your door and in your mailbox, and that means getting your financial house in order. There's strategies that you simply must start doing right now to protect your assets, to protect the financial resources that you have, and you can't wait until the foreclosure notices, the default notices, the lawsuits are at your door. You've got to start taking steps right now to preserve your assets and your income and protect your family. If you feel like you're facing it, hit the contact button right now. We'll do a brief interview with you, take a look at what your circumstances are, and help you prepare a plan to weather this coming financial storm.
Florida's median sale price has exceeded that of the national average for the first time in history, according to a study by the National Association of Realtors. Not only has it done so, but it's stayed above the national average for several months now. Although Florida's housing market has been historically volatile, there's been a slow and steady increase in median sale price compared to that of the rest of the nation. The pandemic helped the overall market as everyone in America seemed to flock to Florida, spurred by cheap capital and tons of cash-out equity as employers permitted remote work. This put increased pressure on the short supply of Florida housing inventory and supercharged the housing prices. Florida real estate has now caught up to the rest of the country, and higher wage earners have moved to Florida in droves, much because of that remote work. Perhaps Florida's volatile real estate market will return, but for these reasons, it may well be here to stay. Many in Florida believe that Florida will continue to shoot up that ladder of states' median sale price averages, but I believe that only time will tell.
Okay, number 5. Well, Florida has not been known for its high wages. Low wages are definitely a factor in why people are leaving Florida. Now, Florida's always been known for tourism, agriculture, construction, and that plays a very important role in our job market. However, the average hourly wage is so much lower than many, many states. And although we are seeing a shift in the job market and we're seeing a lot of skilled trades come into Florida, so although we're having all these major businesses come to the area, the average salaries, the average hourly wage, they are still so much less than many, many other states to our north or to the Midwest or even on the West Coast. And I've talked to some friends of mine, again, that are in medical, that are in legal, insurance, and that have moved here from out of state, and they have assured me that fact is very, very true, that they're not making the same as they were making in other states. So wages are another major factor in why people are leaving Florida.
Thank you for watching Great Minds Blacks.